Hello again. So one thing I've thought about somewhat often, not too often, but from time to time, I play role-playing games, got the minis, doing those. I sort of like to be an author at some point in time, got some ideas in my head for books or stories or stuff that I want printed. Of course, what always comes up is what do we name characters? And so you got all your common names, Bob, Mary, George, whatever. But what if it's not a common, themed story? What if it's a fantasy or a science fiction story? And what do you name your characters? I've just noticed over the years there are certain, I don't want to call them rules, certain patterns that have emerged on this. Yeah, we don't want it to sound like a normal name, so we're going to make it sound as abnormal as we're going to break all the normal rules. How do we do this? One thing we do, let's load our name with X's and Z's because we don't use a lot of those in English or a lot of other languages. There are languages that use them, but not many European languages use them that much. So we're gonna our alien language is just all full of X's and Z's and V's, and Q doesn't happen as much, but we'll throw some of those in there too. And this has poured through into all sorts of things. Zaxxon, video game. It's got a Z and an X in it. It's foreign sounding. It's alien sounding. You know, like I said, role playing games, you'll see all sorts of characters with X's and Z's and V's in their name just because it sounds non human. Kids writing science fiction stories and the aliens have weird, Zizgavag or whatever, just because, again, it uses letters we don't commonly use. Now, gave a few examples there. A real example is Axon, which is an actual video game based on outer space things. Of course, we got other things. Xyzal, which is a drug. And I think, when I first saw the commercial for Xyzal, I was wondering, did they just come up with this because it used XYZ in a row? XYZOL, Xyzal. You know, and that sort of got me curious about some pharmaceuticals. I looked online, found a list. There were, according to one site, there were 55 drugs which were applied for approval in 2023. And I looked down the list, and some of them weren't bad. Others sounded like, alien names. I'm wondering where they came up with these. And a lot of them look like, this is just an attempt to use letters we don't commonly use. So let's read through some of these. We've got Wainua, Filsuva, Fabhota, Agsevio, Trucap, Rhinuda, no, not Rhinuda, Rhinuda, nearly lost the Z in that one, Ogtiro, Fruzakla, Lactorzi, Bimzelx, Zilbrisk, Velsipity, Exua, Affexta, Sohonos, Elrexfio, Izerve, Zerzuve, Befortis, Columvi, Zakdoro, Miebo, Vioza, Elfabrio, Joinja, Zynyz, that's Zynyz, Zavzpret, and Brinzavi. I wonder, I'm looking through this list and I'm wondering if the pharmaceutical companies are run by a bunch of teenagers who are looking for names for their role playing game characters. because that's what they all look like. Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me a bit to play a game sometime and have someone with one of these names on it. So it's not just looking up fictional names. It's like real life stuff, and people trying to make a profit are just making up weird names, which no one's going to believe. Or maybe this is proof that aliens are really out there, and these are they're running our pharmaceutical companies. I don't know. I just find it interesting that when I look at this list of names, it reminds me of RPG characters, just because this is what this is what an elven name would sound like. It wouldn't be a human name. It would use all these letters that humans don't use. Now, among that, we got some interesting thoughts on there. Male and female names. In English and most Western names, a male name has a female equivalent, and it's usually you're adding a few letters to the end. So Victor, Victoria, you added an A, and it makes it a feminine name. Some of them you switch the letters. Alexander and Alexandra, you basically just switch two letters around and change one to an E, or change one from an E to an A. But oftentimes the female version is a little longer than the male because it's the male version with the feminine suffix to the end, if you want to put it that way. Role-playing games, we do the same thing again. It's, this is my character, and it's a female character, and so she's got Ella on the end of her name. Or she's, even though the name doesn't sound like anything we've heard of in real life, we are going to throw a feminine sounding suffix on the end just because it's a female character and that's what's expected of us. Yeah, where is this is my female half-orc barbarian and her name is Thog. Well, that doesn't sound like a female name. She's a half-orc barbarian. Thog is a female name to them. No one does that. You're more likely to find the female half-orc barbarian named Ariel than you are to find one named Thog. Because we have this thing stuck in our name that female characters all have flowery names, even aliens. There would be absolutely nothing wrong with an alien species just having, the females having these single syllable, very dull sounding names. Because that's what their culture does. But we have to humanize it somehow. And so female aliens have these 4-syllable, flowery sounding names. Oops. I'm not complaining about this. I'm just pointing out this is something we do as a culture. And you want to make your fictional character with a non-human sounding name, people don't accept it as much. Some people will. Some people will say, hey, this guy did something clever. He actually made his alien culture completely alien to Earth standards. And that's good. But other people would be like, I don't get it. I thought this character was a man the whole time because it had a male-sounding name. Well, no, it was male-sounding to us. It's not male-sounding to them. And so people don't want to accept that. No, that's just it. Like I said, I've played around with the idea of writing stories, and I think about these things from time to time. It's not just creating a character, it's actually creating a whole culture for that character, and then convincing the reader that the culture makes sense. And a lot of writers, a lot of game players, a lot of whatever don't want to go that far, don't want to take that risk. And that's it. Just something to think about. Think, so my proposed audience is partially role players, so something to think about next time you're making a character. Anyway, have a nice day from Thog and the rest of us.